Good morning. I'm higher vibrations and so are you. And here are some more ascension symptoms that we're all going through right now. There's been a lot of heightened solar flare activity for a while, and that's been part of what's been assisting us in this activation experience. And so there's just more coming in right now than had been before. And often my ear ringing will be at the same time as a solar flare. Like I'll go back and look it up, and there had been a large one. We actually have an X-class flare that is expected to be earth facing coming up in the next day or two. I'm still waiting for it, but as a result, we have the ear ringing. Sometimes the other ear sounds like you're underwater, like that muffled hearing. Dizziness, lightheadedness, and vertigo are all separate things, but having those experiences at different times. And usually briefly, fleeting experience, all of this stuff. I've not had it be where it's a overwhelming experience that's too lasting. Headaches, again, fleeting. It doesn't last very long, but it just kind of hits you and hits me. Usually it's been here, but I've been noticing behind the eyes more too. Just it's kind of a strong spike, almost the level of what you would think of a migraine, but it's fleeting. Like you feel the energy move out and through. There's some density that we're all transmuting and working through right now. So there's going to be these kinds of things. Also, that transmutation experience that we're having right now has a lot to do with the vibration of our body. There are other things too, but the thing is when energy moves through us, it causes us to have this beautiful flow of things. And then if you add a screen in front of it, like say a screen that you'd put, a mesh screen type thing that you'd put on your window, the water will still move through. It'll just have some resistance. And so it'll make a little bit of a mess and cause that screen to vibrate, right? And so that's what's happening within us. In a lot of these experiences where we're noticing this vibration stuff, it's the energies moving through us and not stopping, just getting kind of caught up a little bit with the densities and the things that we still haven't yet fully healed. And that's okay. You're doing great. There's been so much dark night of the soul like healing happening over the past several years, really, but specifically over the past year or two, there's been a lot to take care of. And not just in our own, this is my identity in this experience right now, but also, in multiple lifetimes, as well as ancestral healing. And for me, I'm having a lot of upper respiratory and nasal stuff, but I live in a region where there's a lot of smoke and fire in the area. So I don't know if that's an ascension symptom or simply having to do with that. So that's something else that I'm noticing. But the sinus pressure thing, I've noticed that as an activation thing that's been happening on and off for a while. And not just here, but like sinuses all around, as well as popping and flicking, sounding almost in the ear area, the ear canal. Also, other mouth related stuff. That list is kind of long, but I've talked to so many beautiful souls, and a lot of people are having different stuff to do with their mouth. So just, their mouth or their throat, and that's that throat chakra activation stuff that we're all working through. There's a lot of history of not being able to speak our truth, to be our authentic selves in a variety of areas in this world. And so there's a lot of healing as that throat chakra activation is happening. We'll notice a lot of some distress in the throat where it's just scratchy, itchy. I've talked to some people who have had different like flare-ups and certain things to do with their throat, as well as dental and oral trauma or just soreness and these variety of things. For me, I noticed my teeth making separating and making gaps that I'd never had before. And that's a very common one also. A lot of other people are having that happen. As well as the root chakra vibrating. That is a bizarre sensation, especially if you're walking around the grocery store or something weird like that. But like most of us on this experience are really, really comfortable in the upper 4 chakras. That's just our home. And the lower three we're not so good at, which is kind of funny because I remember thinking growing up in the spiritual world that the first three were kind of a given, that they just kind of took care of themselves, and that's actually not true. It's simply that we need to be able to ground and be well balanced in order to fully process, filter, and translate the stuff that's happening through and with us. And so we're being asked to focus more on our root chakra. And as that happens, as you're doing a good job in that, then a lot of us are finding that when we're not really paying attention to what we're doing and we're almost in a meditation because we're so distracted by a mundane activity, that we notice that that's vibrating, that root chakra is vibrating. And that's kind of a curious, interesting experience. There's been a lot of us that have had over the past 3 days, I would say, strange, a lot of the early signs of symptoms of pregnancy. And I'm not saying that it's just a female thing either. It's just very interesting that so many of us are having that. Like some of us, there's absolutely no chance that would be a thing. So it's really bizarre and noticeable right away that it's strange. There's having all these pregnancy related symptoms is bizarre. Just soreness, bloatiness, almost morning sickness kind of experiences, appetite, loss of appetite, extreme changes in diet. That's been something a lot of us have been noticing along our awakening journey. And it kind of ebbs and flows in different experiences along the way. Slowly, one at a time, I noticed that my body no longer liked it anymore. At first it was certain kinds of meat, and then before I knew it, I was a vegan, over a series of years. But looking back, it does feel like it happened quickly. A lot of us had something like that happen or are having it happen now. And then there's these weird moments that throughout this experience, all of a sudden, some type of meat is like, sounds great. And it's bizarre and passing through all of that, whatever you want to kind of denote a reason for other than health, for not eating meat. We're kind of being asked to go to work through it, I think. And because your body's asking for it, right? Learning how to eat isn't so much by education, but by listening to your body. And for a lot of years, I had chosen to completely ignore my body. My body then learned not to trust me and that I didn't trust it. And so now we're building this relationship again. And so it took a while for me to start to understand what the language of my body was. Some of these things that we know really well, cravings. If we crave something, our body's asking for whatever's in that thing. One of the things that I tend to do is touch it with my skin, with my hands, and my body will let me know if it wants it or not. Something else that you can do is if you're looking at ingredients in your home or whatever, just taste an ingredient. And that happens too. If it's something that your body needs, that's going to taste amazing. And like after a while, you start to get an open dialogue. Now I can just touch things at like the farmer's market or whatever. And sometimes I'll actually even get a zap, and that's no, we don't want that. And not only because of what it is, but sometimes by how it was raised. If it was, perhaps there's some type of toxin on that particular piece of food. So just a variety of things like that. The loss of appetite has turned often into different varieties of fasting. Intermittent fasting is when you choose to not eat for 16 to 18 hours a day. And for me, for the longest time, I was raised to believe and be told I was being unhealthy if I didn't eat breakfast because it's the healthiest meal of the day. And so I would make myself. And for the next 2 or 3 hours after eating that meal, I would feel ill. And so I stopped making myself eat breakfast. And after a while, I found that I wasn't eating lunch either. I tend to eat an early evening dinner, and then I'm good. Though sometimes I don't really notice that I'm hungry, or I don't feel I have an appetite. And so I push off a meal, the evening meal. Before I know it, I haven't eaten that whole day. And I look back and sometimes I've not eaten for several days. And that's called unplanned fasting. when we have unplanned fasting, it's not that we're like, I'm going to fast now. It's just that you just kind of don't feel like eating. And, please consider your body's needs. There's people with diabetes and other, large variety of other things that need to be taken into account, but just listen to your body. Will ask you for what it needs. And it's really beautiful. This surge in cleaning. A lot of us are noticing, like, all of a sudden we just have this desire to, like, pick up deep cleaning, though, like extra cleaning in your house and other people's houses. You go to a friend's house to visit, and before you know it, you're like decluttering their laundry room or whatever. And it's just something that is very strange. Sleep disruption. There's been a lot of that for quite a while. And as we know, when we're in a sleep state, we're not just sleeping like we had thought, right? All this time is a lot of us are actually working. There's actual things that we're doing in an energetic way, as well as an astral, there's stuff. And so a lot of us are going to bed early, waking up late, and still exhausted, just tired. I've been noticing the level of exhaustion that I'm experiencing that's lending to almost a melancholy experience. So the tiredness is now causing some kind of an emotional response. Interesting, though. As well as hot, cold flashes, really random, along with perception alteration. So we're starting to see things that we didn't see before. If you have been seeing things, you're noticing those things are amplified now. There's a new variety of colors that were never present before, as well as like light orbs and the silhouette light beings where it's like you see a white aura and not the person or being within it. You're seeing them. It's just, it's a slow and beautiful, gradual process. There's something else I would like to say about this other experience. A lot of us are having it's surprising to me. It's just something so specific, and more than, there was like 4 of us who all had the same experience that I know of. It was just recently, all of a sudden, the song from that silly cartoon Aladdin from A Whole New World, Don't You Dare Close Your Eyes, that part of the song playing and playing and playing, and usually for me, when there's a snippet of a song, it's even, I know that song, so like, but I haven't heard it in a really, really long time. I hadn't even thought of it in any way for a very long time. And it popped in. And then there were others who had that same fragment of that song pop in at the same time, and there's all of this, we're at this precipice, we're at this new world, we're here. Just look around, open your eyes, allow yourself to experience what's there. And part of that is to trust ourselves. If we're trusting ourselves, then we're able to experience more of it. Because when we stop it, when we end the experience, at least part of it, with questioning your own experience as if it's valid, whether or not it's valid, true, or if you're crazy or whatever, that thing that we tend to knee-jerk response to, if we can find that place of trusting self, then the experience can unfold more and more. And so in that place, to find that self-trust, that is the biggest hurdle that I'm noticing in my own awakening experience, and so getting to that place at some point of self-trust, trusting self, and knowing that whatever resonates inside of you is correct. Not everything that someone who you consider to be some type of teacher knows all of the answers, and it's their answer, it's their information. And so there's a way of interacting with all of these different beautiful energies, and that the world is a buffet. When I go to a buffet, I'm only going to take the things that I want to eat. I'm not going to take part of everything that's on that table. And such is true with all of this other spirituality and life. If it doesn't feel correct for me, I'm just going to leave it there. But that doesn't discount any of the other amazingly delicious and nutritious other options that are present at that same table. I won't deny that table in my experience. And so just to keep that in mind, sensationalization and over amplifying an experience to elicit some type of experience of fear is the opposite that we're trying to do here. This is not about fear. This is the opposite. For God is the most beautiful and true and perfect love. And the opposite of God is fear. And if we go to a place of fear, we're not taking away from our ability to ascend to this space. We are on this forward motion that is not stoppable, truly. It's simply pulling ourselves back to this fear space, at least partly, or even shame and all those types of low self-image and things like that, all are in this space. Being pulled to there isn't stopping our movement toward the love. It simply slows it a little bit, delays it for a moment. And so trust in self and know that you're on your way there. We made it, guys. We made it. And now it's just continuing to do what you're already doing. If it's hard, it's not your job. What our task before us is do what it is we need to do for the 3D experience as we're moving away from it. Because a lot of us still have soccer appointments and things like that. In that place, find your joy. Allow yourself to play. Whatever play is for you. For when you play, you are raising the vibration around you in such a profound way, a beautiful, remarkable, and everlasting way that ripples out and out and out and out and out. And so to find that place of play is truly the place that we were supposed to be this whole time. It's kind of funny how that works. Know that you're not alone. And if you'd like to join any of our Zoom meetings, they're free and it's never aired or recorded. The next one is always posted in my community section, so keep an eye on that. The link will be there for you. I am sending you so much love. Thank you for your service. Aho blessings.